So, welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. I'm so excited that we already have almost 90 participants here today. Actually, we have 90 with me and Anna. It's excellent number to start with at precisely 6 p.m. So it's really, really nice to have you all here. I hope that a few more will join us for this interesting seminar. So today's seminar is called Collaborative Learning from Theory to Practice, and we have the pleasure to have with us Anna Laghigna. I think it's how you pronounce it. She may correct me later on. And today's seminar, we will share some of the key points to collaborative teaching and learning, highlight some of the video contributions made by other teachers members of the CoLab project. I'm not sure if you have heard about it, but you will today. Also, we will focus on some of the challenges that teachers might face when planning collaborative activities in their classrooms. And Anna is going to suggest alternative ways to assess students' work through the use of rubrics, quick checks, and peer reviews, which can foster collaboration and provide discrete guidance through constructive feedback to students and teams. But before we go into our seminar, I would like to just give some instructions, some technical instructions. So I'm not sure if it's the first time that you are attending one of these seminars. You can comment in the chat. You can react to what we are saying using these icons. So it's right in the top bar. Please feel free to use these icons to react, agree, disagree, whatever you feel like it. And also, please feel free to comment in the chat box. Also, there will be some moments where we will give you the floor, and I will unmute your microphone. That's why you cannot do it right now. But when the time comes, I'll do it for you. You just need to raise your hand like someone just did. And then I'll give you the floor. Okay. Then, if you have problems with sound, probably you are not listening to me, but I hope you can see this slide. We recommend that you use the headsets, and you need to connect your speakers, not the microphone, because the microphone I will connect it when the time comes. If by any chance something happens or the problem still remains, you may need to try to leave the session and come back again. Okay, so these are the basic instructions to participate in this seminar. And now our lovely expert for today. So who's Anna? Anna has been a secondary teacher of English as a foreign language and sometimes German as well for 17 years. Passionate about integrating technology in her classroom, Anna has been experimenting new ways of creative teaching and learning that focus on developing students' language skills through creativity, critical thinking, and collaboration among peers. Her main areas of interest are digital storytelling, inquiry, and collaborative learning. On her blog, English for You, she showcases some of the multimedia projects carried out with her students. She has participated in several professional development courses and MOOCs by the University of Houston and the European Schoolnet Academy, for which she has been a teacher trainer on the Mentab course on technology enhanced teaching in 2015 and MOOC moderator CoLab course on collaborative teaching and learning in 2016. She has been also a teacher instructor on the use of technology in the classroom and for eCLIL in various schools of her district. In December 2015, within the framework of European High-Level Conference on the EU Digital Agenda in Luxembourg, she was awarded with the eSkills for Jobs Prize for teaching digital skills in her classroom. But most important of her profile is that she's an eTwinning teacher. So her experience will be also applied today in the eTwinning context, which is very good for us. So with no further ado, let me just move to her slide. With no further ado, I'll just unmute Anna and mute my microphone to avoid the echo. And thank you so much, Anna, for being here with us today.
Thank you, Rute, for having me here. I am really very excited and also a bit ashamed for the presentation. What an introduction you gave me. You gave me really like an expert. Actually, I am just a teacher, a very passionate one, dedicated, as all the teachers that I can see here are attending the webinar tonight. So a very welcome to all of you. I believe our days have been busy for everybody, so it is great to be with you tonight. And I feel really excited that we can talk. I hope it will be a chat together tonight, and that we will be talking about a topic I am really passionate about, that is collaborative teaching and learning in the classroom. It is really important, I think, to teach our students to collaborate. If we go back to our adolescence, to our time at school, do you remember the way it was done? In some classrooms, nothing has, or very little has changed, but it has to change. We need to innovate and find new ways to talk to our students. So this evening together, this hour that we're going to spend together, is meant to be sort of a follow-up to the European Schoolnet Academy course, the CoLab MOOC, which went on air, which went online last October and November on the European Schoolnet Academy platform, and on which I had the privilege of being one of the three course moderators, together with Nair Carrera and Caterina, and above all with the help and support of Caroline Kearney, the Senior Education Officer at European Schoolnet Academy, who had also this idea of organizing a MOOC and extend it to participation to many other teachers in Europe. So this was the initial announcement, that is a MOOC, actually a learning event, a collaborative learning event since the very beginning, to learn the true meaning of collaboration in an educational context. I have to say, it was really a very nice experience, both on the side of a course moderator as well as a participant, because it was intensely felt and participated by the teachers, but also in the very beginning, since the very beginning, it was a collaborative event. Caroline Kearney asked some teachers from Europe to come on board and produce their own videos in order to share their experiences, not only the positive results, but sometimes also the challenges, the difficulties, the issues that we as teachers can face in the classrooms. And we know very well that it is not sometimes it is not easy to teach collaboration. So it was very participated and very positive and successful. Over 2,000 participants from all over Europe, as I said, and with a very high rate also of participants who finished the course, which is a positive result. So as you probably know, CoLab stands for Collaborative Education Lab, and it is a European project. And if you can also, if you want to find more about this project, they have a website where you can find more information about it, and it involves various countries, among which, if I remember well, Austria, Spain, Portugal, Ireland, Poland. If there are any Polish teachers among the participants tonight, the eTwinners tonight, and you feel like to go and check out the materials that are still on the European Schoolnet Academy platform, you will see that some parts of the course were run actually in Polish in order to facilitate the participation of Polish teachers. So the idea was actually to support collaborative teaching and learning by creating a community of teachers and practitioners. So that is the idea. Then it was extended as a MOOC, because teachers, of course, need help and training. So here, top right of the screen, you can see the badge that accompanied us throughout the MOOC, and that was awarded to the teachers who finished the course. The main question, I think, that should be considered, that we all as teachers should ask ourselves before planning activities that incorporate and integrate collaborative activities is why is important, why shall we teach our kids to collaborate? Why is it so important to do so? To change also the style of our teaching, moving from a teacher-centered to a more student-centered way of working in class. The kids of today will be the citizens of tomorrow. So we need to foster skills that promote and help them develop skills that will make them functioning citizens of Europe and functioning, efficient collaborators in the future. Collaboration fosters and helps develop a whole set of interpersonal skills. So first of all, before talking about knowledge and competences or whatever, we're talking about human beings and making them feel good at ease in class and working with the others. It is true, our students like working together, okay, but the point is, are they really efficient collaborators? Can they work together and can they communicate, be able to listen to each other, negotiate, find new ways, overcome conflict? Maybe sometimes they criticize each other or they overtalk and they are unable to make decisions. Are they also able to recognize that somebody within their group has a certain skills and maybe it is right for them to assume the role of leaders? So are they able to share personal responsibility and produce efficient, good quality teamwork? These are all questions that I think are important for our kids and for the education, the way we want to educate our kids. The world has changed dramatically. We all know that. If we go back, if we recall the way we were, I remember when I gave my thesis, I was one of the first students at university who was able to write her own thesis on a computer. Think of that. We did not have text messages. We didn't have all the technicalities and devices. And above all, we could not access the internet. I think the internet, not only I, many of us, of course, we will agree. The internet has changed everything. Has changed the way we can access information, the way we can process information, and requires a new mindset and a whole set of new skills. So we must be aware that we are currently preparing students for jobs that do not exist yet, for using technologies that maybe have not been invented yet, and in order to solve problems that we do not know, we are not aware that these are problems. The world that will await our kids is a complex one, and they will need new ways, new solutions. They will have to innovate, to invent new ways, and to do that, they will need a vision, a strategy to get to the point, and a vision. Use all their creativity, their expertise, their talents, their smarts, their commitment in order to reach a goal. So that is probably the quality of collaboration, to put their best in order to achieve a common goal. So we all know, I'm not going too much into detail about that because we are all teachers, we know of the Bloom taxonomy and whatever, but there is a lot of debate about the 4 C's, the 21st century skills, so just let me very briefly go through this slide. Recently, we have heard also of more than 4 C's. They have been talking about 6 C's. But anyway, let me just go briefly through these key points. Communication. So, as I said, kids will have to learn how to communicate efficiently, sharing thoughts, questions, ideas, solutions, and collaboration, that is working together to reach a goal, using all their effort, all their efforts and use the best of themselves in order to create something unique. Critical thinking, looking at problems in a new way, and linking learning across subjects and disciplines. We all know that this is still a bit of a challenge in our schools, where we teach in our classrooms our own subjects, and it is difficult sometimes to interact with other teachers or to develop projects that see the involvement of different subjects. eTwinning is an excellent space. Really takes out the roof from the classroom and opens up to new perspectives. And creativity, which I believe is the most interesting, challenging, and it is also rewarding for our kids to do something that is creative, that can give them the chance to express themselves, okay? And but in this context of collaboration, it means find some... Yes? Can you hear me?
Sorry to interrupt you.
Yes?
But we are having some problems with the sound, and my suggestion is that you turn off your camera, because it takes some bandwidth. So maybe it will improve the sound. Okay?
All right, I will. Yes, I'll stop the webcam.
Thank you so much. It's nice.
So let's see if it is better now.
But it will improve the sound. Yes.
Yeah, I believe so. So just please tell me what part shall I repeat one part, go back one slide, or can I move forward?
No, it's okay.
Okay, so let's move to the next slide then. All right, so here you can see one of the creations of the contributions made by one of the course participants. They were all very active. This was made by Grazia Palladino. I don't know whether she's online tonight, but anyway, thanks again, Grazia. We really appreciated our creativity in putting together these fresh colors, energizing colors really, and this acronym TEAM. Together, everyone achieves more, okay? So collaborative learning helps our students develop specific skills, leadership, as we said, but also the capacity, the capacity to evaluate their own work, see whether they need to further develop certain skills, learn more, listening skills and listening to the others, presentations, skills of persuasions and negotiations, teamwork and skills. So a whole set of competencies that are necessary to collaborate in an efficient way. Here you can see a picture of one of the experts that we had on the course, Professor Dedler Butler, along also with Professor Luis Valente from the University of Minho in Portugal. Professor Butler is a researcher and educator and professor at the University of Dublin in Ireland, and she's very active also in the CoLab project. And she gave us many hints for reflection. I remember her, the first time I heard her, it was on another MOOC by European Schoolnet Academy, one of the first ones, Future Classroom, which was run again on the Teacher Academy lately. It has just finished, I guess, or it is about to finish. And I remember her talking about collaborations. She said, very often when I am with teachers, I ask them, do you have your kids, your students collaborate, work together in the classroom? And she said most of the teachers answered, oh yes, of course, I put them in groups. Something clicked inside myself because it was really what I had always been doing, simply putting my students in groups in order for them to work together. I still do that sometimes, I have to admit, when we do activities like grammar practice, for example, very easy things, they simply work in groups and help each other. But Professor Butler insisted very much on the concept of interdependence, okay? So she provided us more food for thought, great questions to consider, to reflect upon. That is, the students are working together. All right, are you moving around? Are you monitoring? Are you checking out what they are exactly doing? Are they working together and giving each other feedback? Do they share responsibility for the final achievement? Very often, students simply assign roles. Okay, I'm going to do this part, you're going to do that part, and then they put together their findings, their results, and it's sort of a collage, a sort of a puzzle. No. They should make substantive decisions about the content of the process and the final project, and create something together. So their work is expected to be interdependent. And this is why also it is important to have kids work on project-based learning, in order for them to create a final project which could merge and show their production. Professor Butler showed us also this interesting picture that you can see on the slide on top of the page on the right-hand corner, showing a boat and the people on the boat rowing in the same direction. So if the students want to finish the project and reach destination, they have to work together, share responsibility, make substantive decisions, and work interdependently. She also provided us with this workflow that can be very easy to use when we are planning and integrating collaborative learning activities in our learning designs. Here you can see also the link to this rubric that was made available in collaboration with Microsoft. So with a very easy coding, 1, 2, 3, 4, showing the level of interdependency, okay? How much they are really working and collaborating together. So very interesting indeed. Let me move on to the next slide. So all teachers, participants, and us as teachers who produce videos were asked questions. Okay, so how do you organize collaboration and group work in class? What are the challenges of collaborative and cooperative learning? So the teachers involved in the MOOC, I would like to mention them. I don't want to waste your time, but really they worked hard to produce the videos, and that was, I guess, the asset, an asset to the MOOC. Okay, so in the first module, me and Monica Giansanti from Italy, we produced videos on a sort of an introduction to the experience of collaborating in class. And in the second video, Krisa from Greece and Anton Luis from Portugal, they produced videos on the use of peer reviews and formative assessment integrated in collaborative activities. And in the final module, module 4, two great teachers, Reyhan Gunesh from Turkey, who you might happen to know because she's a very active eTwinner as well as a professional, long experienced teacher trainer. She and a teacher from Bulgaria, Valentina Romanova, showed the importance of having teachers collaborating together, because that is also a very important point. We teachers, I don't know whether you would agree on that or not, but as in my experience, very often the teaching profession can be pretty isolating if it remains confined in the four walls of our classroom. Okay, so it is difficult to get teachers to collaborate together. That is another point. Okay, so what are the challenges? We asked many questions. We asked fellow teachers to reflect on the challenges of collaborative learning. This was one of the questions that the moderators posted on the Padlet, on the forum, and on the socials. The Facebook group was very active, and the teachers really answered massively. They gave a very active response, especially on the Padlets, but also on the social, as I said. So what do you find challenging about getting students to collaborate effectively, and how have you resolved these issues? Okay, so this was one of the questions that we asked. We also launched a poll, a survey. Don't know whether you know the learning apps. I encourage you, I invite you to go and check if you don't know it. It can be very helpful also for teaching practice in class. The Learning Apps is a German website, and it offers many apps, tools for making tests, quick checks, polls, whatever. It is very nice. Even also if you have your students work on that, so they can create their own tests and their own games on the learning apps. So we launched this poll. Let's just have a look at the questions that we asked. Maybe you might answer yourself, reflect yourself on these questions. When you set up group work with your students, which of the following criteria do you take into consideration? You can see the majority of the teachers consider as the most important criterion to have mixed ability members, so that the strongest students can help the weaker ones. And others divide at random. I have myself used the random picking tool in order to have students work together and also facilitate social skills in the classroom, that they get to work also with people they don't know very well, or they leave students free to decide. Second question was, which of the following challenges have you faced as a teacher when implementing collaborative learning in the classroom? The noise element is for sure one of our worries, because if you have 20, 25, 30 kids all together working in the same classroom, of course, they become noisy, they can become even loud, or they can get easily off track, so they don't finish the project, they don't respect the deadlines. And but the majority of teachers answered that it is difficult to guarantee the quality of collaboration by all groups. Many said also that the weaker students or the lazy ones piggyback from the work done by others. So how can we, as teachers, try to monitor the quality of the collaboration and use maybe formative assessment or other aids in order to guarantee that everybody does his part, is responsible for the project? So, finally, the third question, in designing and implementing group work in your classroom, you might have encountered other types of issues. Which one was the most difficult to deal with? As you can see, the majority of teachers said time. We are always worried with time. Time flies. We never have time enough to do the activities, collaborative activities that we would like to do in class. And collaboration projects, project-based learning requires flexible scenarios also, and a lot of time. So issues also with assessing each student as part of a group. I had, for example, issues with this point, because the best students, the ones who are used to getting the best good marks, sometimes they don't want to share with others. But in the long run, especially with senior students, I found out that they gained themselves something. They learned a lot as well from working together. So in this first video that we're going to see together, it's nice for me to see my students on the front page. And there is a link. The link will be shared. Maybe Ruta will share it also on the chat box. And so in this first video, you will see my students working together on a project. And at the end of the video, we posed questions for the experts. So Ruta, if you want, let's go.
Hello everybody, my name is Anna Laghigna. I am a secondary teacher of English as a foreign language in Udine, northern Italy. My students are Italian-speaking teenagers of 14-19 years of age. My desire as a teacher is to plan activities that can be engaging and motivating for my students. I want them to be active and creative. I think that learning by doing and group work are the best ways to learn. I have been experimenting new ways of creative teaching and learning that focus on developing students' language skills through creativity, critical thinking, and collaboration among peers. What I can say from my experience is that group work has proved particularly efficient, especially in classes in which the level of language competence was initially pretty low. Working together has given a chance also to my weaker students to achieve better results, and as a whole, it has improved my students' motivation for language learning. In designing new activities, I always start from analyzing my students' points of weakness so I can focus on activities which aim at strengthening them. I then ask myself, how can the project I have in mind contribute to make them better independent learners? Does it help them to learn how to work together? I try to encourage students to discover and investigate contents independently. As a guide and a facilitator, I try not to give ready answers, but hints to their questions and encourage peer learning in groups. Inquiry-based learning and web quests were key in this project about theatres at the time of Shakespeare. The project was carried out with 2 different 12th year classes last January. My students loved this activity. I thought it could be a nice idea to introduce modern teenagers first to the fascinating atmosphere of the Elizabethan theatres before reading Shakespeare's work. With us embarked on a virtual tour of the reconstructed Globe Theatre in London, students got hooked by the story of the actors, the costumes, the props, the way the audience used to behave in theatres, and ended up longing to see a play by Shakespeare. The whole working process is shown here. Some videos to introduce the topic, guiding questions to answer while watching, and to develop students' independence and responsibility in their learning. Group work to collaborate and negotiate answers to the questions shared on a common Google Doc, up to the creation of a mutual praise and the final original presentations in class. What did I do as a teacher? Well, first of all, I made sure that team members were aware of what was expected of them. We did not create norms because these were senior students. I tried instead to give them voice and choice along the process, so they were given the freedom to decide about roles in their own group and how to develop the project. I monitored the progress constantly, providing guiding feedback both in class and online. I found out that giving feedback on Edmodo or through comments on Google Docs and Titan Pad, etc., is more discreet and better received by students. They know when they are doing well and appreciate my efforts because they can see that I care about their progress. I would be very interested in learning more about other forms of discreet guidance. And finally, we produced a slideshow to celebrate their success. It was a sort of psychological reward and a moment of deep sharing. This project definitely helped my students to get to know each other better and build up team spirit. What challenges did I face in this project? One of the challenges that a teacher may face when shifting from a teacher-centered to learner-centered activities in class has to do with control. Students can get pretty loud while collaborating, or they may easily get off track. I found it helped to use a tool called Scrammy to plan our activities. Moreover, I asked my students to end any working session with a short report in the form of a checklist or mind map illustrating their work in progress. This helped to keep them on track. The biggest challenge in my experience of working with collaborative learning has to do with assessment. In our Italian education system, school authorities as well as parents demand individual summative assessment on a set number of written and oral tests. I have tried to integrate formative assessment in my planning and have involved my students in self-evaluation with the use of rubrics, focused on collaboration, critical thinking, problem solving, negotiating, and other life skills. I have also introduced more and more peer reviews for mutual feedback. But all these activities usually come into play only at the end. I would like to learn from our experts as well as peers in the course about how to plan the assessment of collaboration and interpersonal skills. How can we teachers design activities to monitor teamwork, personal responsibility and leadership, aim-oriented discussion and task-based work, time management and organization. If some of the key words to collaboration are added value, respect for others, and negotiations, how can these items be evaluated within a group and then lead to individual summative assessment? Thank you. Goodbye.
Let's go on. So main challenges of cooperative collaborative learning. I hope you've seen the whole video, or if there were any problems, Rute has posted also the link, and it will be also on the slides, so that the link is active. You can maybe take a look at the video if you are interested later on. Okay, so students can get pretty loud, and the teacher has to step a bit backward and leave the floor to the students. So it's also a matter of control in the class. And one of the issues is that they can get off track. And as for me in particular, it is difficult to assess the individual contributions. This is a problem that we sometimes have in our educational systems. That is, that we have to produce, to deliver a set number of marks, written and oral. In Italy, it is also oral, and this takes up a lot of time. But what can we do? In Module 3, Professor Valente from the University of Minho in Portugal, as I said, answered the questions that the teachers posed at the end of their videos. And there was an interview, and he provided us with lots of good tips and advice on what to do in the classroom. The first suggestion is to design engaging activities. So activities that can motivate our students and make them more independent learners, more active, and they can also, let's say, let them come on board, okay, so that they can be creative and do something, so learning by doing. Another good way to develop collaborative learning is through PBL. PBL is not always easy to implement, at least at the beginning, because it requires flexible environments, long span of times. Also, the teacher has to plan activities in detail, but it can be very rewarding as regarding the results in learning by the students. Inquiry-based learning and web quests could be maybe a first step before implementing PBL in full. We need to plan well the activities and consider various forms of grouping. This was suggested also by Professor Valente. We can assign roles. We can pick up students and give them a particular role as moderators or time checkers, and set clear rules. For example, in my case, I leave the kids to the students. Very often I teach high school, so senior students. I leave them free to decide who they want to work with. But I set clear rules, and the deadlines must be respected. This is a point. So they can work the way they want, but the deadline must be respected. Explain objectives and assign roles. So that was a bit what Professor Valente suggested. But if you check it out on the platform, he also shared with us a document with very interesting suggestions. So one of the issues that we have to face when integrating, making collaborative activities in the classroom has to do with assessment. And here, the question that was posed to teachers was, which are your favorite tools and how do you integrate formative assessment in your teaching practice? Good question, isn't it? And the teachers also contributed on dot storming, their favorite tools. So we're going to share also the link to the dot storming, and you will see how many tools for collaboration and for formative assessment they shared. In Module 3, for Module 3, I produced another video, because in the first one, as you have probably seen, there were some scenes regarding also peer reviews. And so Carolyn Kearney asked me, can't you go into more detail, Anna, because this is really an interesting point. So formative assessment, peer reviews, and blogs for metacognitive reflection. Rute, whenever you like, I'll mute my microphone and we can...
Hi, my name is Anna Laghigna. I'm a secondary teacher of English as a foreign language in northern Italy. My students are between 14 and 19 years of age.
In my classes, I encourage interaction through speculation, brainstorming, debate, etc. If we need to do extra grammar practice, I ask students to work in groups and to exchange ideas and notions to help each other. They enjoy working together and learn collaboratively, also because they don't get stuck, as they often tend to do while doing homework alone. Those who are more competent interact with the weaker ones in a way that the latter do not resent. Sense of failure because of mistakes decreases, and also top students admit that they can learn more. While doing projects, I have noticed that high school students respond better if they are made responsible for their own choices. So I have often left them free to decide who they prefer working with and what roles to have. When I ask students to peer review one or more digital products made by other students or small teams, I prefer to set up groups in order to ensure objectivity and freedom of judgment. My aim is to encourage self-improvement through reflection on other people's work and the exchange of constructive feedback among peers. In this case, I think it is better to pair classmates who don't know each other well, or to use a random name picker tool which automatically teams them up, like the one you can see here. Some of the projects we have done were basically focused on personal interests and hobbies. Others required more extensive collaboration among group members and sometimes the involvement of a whole class in order to investigate, analyze and synthesize acquired contents and notions in creative, original ways. Here you can see an example of an inquiry carried out by a whole class on Nelson Mandela. I remember that it was the 6th of December 2013, right one day after Mandela's death. Students of a 13th year class came up with a request to do some research on the life of Nelson Mandela. They wanted to know more. This précis was made collaboratively by 6 different groups working together on the same project. All learning activities were designed so that all students had to contribute in order for the teams to succeed. They made substantive decisions about topics to research and negotiated solutions on the relating outcomes. We started our project with a web quest based on a series of websites and videos I had put together on a blank space for them, which you can see here. During the Christmas holidays, the students had to answer questions on their own while surfing through the above website. A sort of treasure hunt, so to speak. They also watched videos and interviews on a flipped classroom modus. Back to school, we discussed their results in plenum and then formed groups of 3 or 4 members according to their interests. Students discussed, exchanged ideas and negotiated a commonly shared version of their answers, which would later become a slide on our mutual précis. All drafts were posted and corrected by the teacher on Edmodo. Again, our learning platform proved fundamental not only for communication but also as a collaboration tool.
I often ask my students to come up with their own considerations, suggestions and solutions at the end of a working session and report to the class. I must admit that I have encountered a number of difficulties in doing this kind of activity because it requires prior collaboration skills that students need to have developed also in other subjects, but they haven't most of the time. And plus a pretty high level of fluency and oracy in the foreign language, of course.
While my students work in groups, I move around to help if they need explanations and check whether they are proceeding in the right direction. With younger students, I have also used checklists and a tool called Scrummy, which allows accurate planning and checking of work progression. At the end of a project, my students often produce a digital object, a web page, a video, a multimedia presentation, etc., to show what they have learned. They have also their own blogs, which they use as digital portfolios for their projects. I think this is a nice way to encourage self-efficacy and metacognitive reflection. My goal in using blogs is to provide them with a tool through which they can reflect on what they have learned and then be able to compare it with the initial stages of their learning, see where they have developed new competencies, and identify areas for improvement or further learning. I have developed also the use of rubrics to help my students self-assess how their own work matches up the set criteria. They have used their smartphones and online rubrics created on Google Forms to peer evaluate their classmates' presentations in class. By revising other classmates' work and comparing it to their own, they can reflect on how others have found a different solution to the task assigned and help each other. I started by simply asking them to view other classmates' work and add comments, like for example here on this text. On other occasions, I created a Padlet on which all individual projects were shared and students could add their comments in the space provided.
As a teacher, I think that the biggest challenge in collaborative learning lies in summative assessment. Many of us will agree that marking is the worst task in our job. It's tough at times to persuade kids that they should not identify with the mark and feel frustrated. A mark may gauge the level of an individual performance, for sure not a human being as a whole. Personally, I have often felt miserable when I must assess my students' job, and I know that they have put so much of themselves in their work and still it is insufficient. I think that once you start working as a guide and a facilitator, you soon come to realize that our current system is yet not suitable for that. You cannot be coach and referee at the same time, can you? If you are a coach, you obviously feel like as a part of a team.
This is why I have introduced more and more peer reviews. Students can give mutual support and feedback, and I sometimes participate to the same activity anonymously. We frequently use simple quizzes or quick check questions, which we do possibly online. Kahoot, Cooperative and Quizalize are our favorite tools for quick checks. In a project on Jane Austen, each group invented secret questions for classmates and played around on Kahoot. It was great fun for all. We also use ongoing peer reviews during presentations. Students use their smartphones to evaluate individual or group presenters. Google Sheets are then forwarded by Edmodo, but evaluations remain anonymous. Using technology has made collaboration easier in my classroom. It has smashed down all barriers and fears.
My questions to our experts and peers on the course are the following. Students, as well as their parents, usually take summative assessment more seriously than formative assessment. How can we teachers persuade students that assessing for learning can be more relevant to them than assessment of learning? How can we plan assessment for learning as an ongoing process without stopping the spontaneous overflowing of ideas and creativity while students are collaborating? Thank you for your attention. Goodbye.
All right, so I hope that you could see part of the video and in particular the portfolios, the digital portfolios that my students created. I would very much like to show you more, but time flies, so let's go on. Again here, the question, assessment of learning or assessment for learning. Of course, we teachers, we all agree that assessment for learning is more relevant to our students, but it's difficult sometimes to persuade them, because what happens to us? When we give back a report or class tests, many of them just want to check what mark they have received, and that's it. Okay, so working in another way in the classroom, making projects can also encourage our students. I have seen that many times, that they become eager to improve, and they want to receive feedback from the teacher and also from their peers in order to make a better project. Okay, so that was the final question that I asked. Okay, so how can we really give a mark to individual students when the work was done cooperatively? And I have to say that I don't have a final answer to that. For sure, assessment for learning is formative. I once attended a webinar by the European Academy Simple K-12. I don't know whether you know it. And I heard one of the speakers who suggested this sentence. I really liked it. That is, that formative assessment could be called informative, and that it is like a GPS telling us where the student is along the learning journey. Isn't it a nice expression to have a GPS to see where our students, how they are progressing and how they are learning? And when learning is the goal, teachers and students collaborate and use ongoing assessment and pertinent feedback to move learning forward. I have also experimented using videos to provide feedback to my students in a personalized way, and it was really a very rewarding experience for both. So we're nearly approaching the end. I would like to focus on this image that a friend of mine and a participant to the course created and shared on Facebook, and which somehow summarizes the issue that I posed in the video. That is, when we start working like that, when we step back and we do something for our kids, we try to involve them more. We become coaches, facilitators, guides in the classroom. Then comes the point of assessment, and we have to go back to the initial role of being judges and whatever. That's not easy for me. It has not been easy for me. What do you think? So how can you be at the same time coach and referees? You feel part of a team. So probably it is, many of us find it difficult to innovate, to start new projects, because it is sort of a time of transition. Okay, we are shifting to another paradigm, and there are difficulties in adapting to a system which remains still 19th century Victorian style. But things are changing, I believe, and what matters the most is, again, this acronym, to teach our students to instill slowly, softly, persuasively the values of collaboration, of teamwork, and that together everyone achieves more. Okay, so I would like to leave you with this consideration, and also with our dream that I'm sure you share with me. That is that what we do in class, apart from the methodologies, the trends, and whatever, the fashions that sometimes arise on the scene of education, what matters to us as teachers is that the students feel well in the classroom, to feel them good, because learning is a privilege. Learning is a privilege, and they should not feel bad in the classroom. Okay, if you are interested and if you want to go through the materials and the videos and the many documents that were shared on the MOOC, you still can. All the courses by European Schoolnet Academy remain available online. You just have to enroll. Of course, the courses are no more moderated, so it is not possible to interact with the other participants or get a certificate and badges for the course. But you can also take a look at other courses. I would suggest, for example, the one on creative use of tablets in the classroom, which was mind-blowing to me. And so thank you for your attention here. You can write, email me, or check out my blog if you like. You find me on Twitter as well, and on eTwinning. And so thank you for your attention. I hope it's been interesting. If there are any questions, or also on the tools that you have seen in the video, if it can help somehow, I would be very pleased to answer your questions. Rute, I don't know whether there are any questions. Otherwise, I would like to ask you a question. That is, what thoughts, an idea that you are taking away with you from this hour that we spent together? Rute, can you help? Can you hear me?
Yes. It was great, Anna. Yes.
Okay. So,
Great, Anna.
thank you very much. Thank you very much. I don't know whether they are asking
for
questions.
asking for
To write what thought or idea they are taking away from this hour that we spent together tonight. What impressed them the most, or they would like to deepen. Yes.
That's what I read in the chat. That's what I read in the chat.
Or if there are any questions about the tools that they have seen in the video.
You can also write some questions in the chat if you wish.
Okay.
Well, I think nobody has any questions, but please write in the chat the one idea that you have taken from this seminar. One idea that you have taken from this seminar. So Anna, how many classes per week do you teach these students?
Assessment.
So Anna, how many classes per week do you teach these students?
How many classes? Oh, this year I've got less classes. I've got only 3, but usually in Italy an English teacher has got 6 classes. Last year I had 5. This year I've only 3 because in my school we are innovating and I'm taking care of some projects for a possible future classroom. I very much hope so. Let's see. Yes, making it interesting for students is the first point. I totally agree. Yes, feel encouraged and don't step back. Don't be afraid. Of course, the first time that we try, we make mistakes. Be ready to have a plan B. We are making mistakes. People who try new things make mistakes. And also don't let the others, the other colleagues let you down. Yes, from these courses, really, we can learn a lot. It's a professional, really a professional community of teachers and practitioners. I learned a lot from the other peers. You can see what the others have done, the projects that they have carried out in class, and you get inspiration. Oh yes, absolutely. Sharing is an asset, is important. We teachers are the first, maybe, who should learn to share and to collaborate with others. eTwinning is the right place. Yes, you're right. Marks at the end. They want always marks at the end. And sometimes they don't take even the time. You spend hours marking and trying to provide feedback. And then in the very end, they are simply looking at the mark on that piece of paper. Oh yes, Monica, I absolutely couldn't agree more with you. Deepen collaboration and trying. Yes, absolutely. So don't be shy. Of course, in the beginning it can be difficult. Start slow. Start with make little steps. Fly Nike, as they say at European. Fly low, you know. And yes, trying to see that there are little progress. Track also what they have done at the beginning of the year, compare it to the end of the year. This gives a lot of self-confidence, more self-confidence to our students. Yes, absolutely, Valentina. Also involving them in creating rubrics can be a good point. They become more self-reflective. You can start maybe at the beginning just as a game. Okay, I use these interactive rubrics created with Google Forms. They use their smartphones in class, and it can get more interactive, like a sort of a game. And then step by step, you go into more detail, depending, of course, also on the age of the student, of your students. Oh yes, it is absolutely, Daniela, hard to check who is working well in the group. But after a while, the students also get to know each other, and they get adjusted. They know that the one is better at doing videos, the other one is better as a researcher, as an investigator. So they also, in the long run, try to work always with the same people, because they know the good points and the bad points. Oh, thank you, Ami. You speak very well Italian. You write also very good Italian. Yeah, we should do it more. Unfortunately, much of our time is sucked, really put into marking. Tests should be abolished. Yes, I agree. How many projects a year depend very much on the level of the classes. In the last years, unfortunately, I've always been moved to new schools. That is, it takes me a while to get to know the students. But when they first start with little projects, very easy things. But in, let's say, last year, for example, I had some weak classes at the beginning of the year, but they got very motivated, and we did about 4 or 5 projects. I guess you cannot do more than that, unless you know your students, you have known them for a longer time. Oh, Pascal Badou, you are lucky that you don't use marks anymore. What do you use? Letters or simply feedback? That would be my dream. That would be my dream, not to give marks. I have to say, it is the worst part of our, in my opinion, the worst part of our job. Oh, competencies with different colors. Pascal suggests competencies different. Do you teach in France, Pascal? That would be ideal. They have, Solange asked how many hours per week. 3 hours per week. 3 hours per week, but our students are supposed to do a lot of homework. And sometimes the homework that I do nowadays is no more exercises. I prefer to have them work in groups in class, doing exercises, practice, etc. And they assign creative jobs which they possibly cannot copy. You know that our students are very active on WhatsApp and other socials, and they pass each other the solutions, the keys to their exercises. So I have often found out that it is totally useless to assign too much homework. Peer assessment is interesting, and I really encourage you to try it, because the first time I did it, I was really surprised by the seriousness with which they exchanged ideas among each other. At the beginning, it was only a few compliments, congratulations, but then it grew up. And also doing that anonymously can help a lot. As I explained in the video, sometimes I participate anonymously myself. Yeah, PBL. is really the key. Of course, at the beginning it can be a bit, frightening, because since it is a work in progress, you don't know what your students are going to learn, since they are asking, they are both posing the questions and solving the problem. So, but it is absolutely, I think, very interesting. And
thank you very much. I think we are already out of our time. But if there is one more question, I think it's okay if Anna still answers. If not, I think we can close the seminar.
Okay.
And I would like to thank you, Anna, for this very, very interesting seminar with so many useful tips and practical examples of how collaboration can be implemented in the classroom. It was indeed very, very interesting, and you did a great job presenting it.
Yes, I hope so.
I will contact you all very soon with all the URLs and the presentation as well. So don't worry if you missed something, some part of this seminar, you will have everything very soon. Okay, thank you again for being here, and see you in the next seminar. We don't have yet a date for the next one, but just pay attention to the professional development page on eTwinning Live. It was a great pleasure to have you here. Again, Anna, it was my pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much.